Yeah, and she bought the tickets for the 8th of February,
No,
1996.
What year again? 96?
1996, she got the tickets for us to go from my first time leaving Australia, Shalochana Didi, in 1996.
Yeah.
So we flew to but then she changed her mind. She said, I will get the tickets for the 9th of February, which happened to be the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. So we flew on the 9th of February, 1986 to Kolkata so that I could go and stay for 1 year in Bhubaneswar with Srila Govinda Maharaj. But while we were flying, he disappeared.
While you were flying? Wow.
So then when I got to ISKCON Calcutta the next morning, and I'd never been anywhere out of Australia, and I got to ISKCON Calcutta, they asked me, who is your guru? And I said, Govinda Maharaj, and he said, oh, he has gone. And then I saw on the altar they had a picture of him, and I went to Mayapur, and he had already been taken to Bhubaneswar to give him samadhi. But I had never been to Mayapur before, so I stayed in Mayapur. And I didn't get to Bhubaneswar.
You didn't go down to Bhubaneswar?
I went first to Bhubaneswar for a while, then through the Chandan Yatra, and then I went to my first time going to Rath Yatra. Yeah. Actually, he said to me, come to India and I will initiate you. And when I got to India, at first it took me a few years to follow what he told me because I didn't have that faith that when Guru gives an instruction, he also gives the Shakti, the power to do it. So then, when I got to India and I knew that he had disappeared, I was with, and I was sharing a room in Mayapur with Chandrakala Didi from Australia, who was also taking shelter of Govinda Maharaj. So
through that winter, from 96 to 97, when you were staying in Mayapur?
No, at the time, just after Srila Govinda Maharaj had disappeared, yes. I got to Mayapur and I decided to stay there. I met Chandrakala and Mathuranath from Australia.
Beginning of 97, like you said. When you
that was 96, there. Just after he had disappeared while he was being put into Samadhi. And, And I thought, well, he said he will initiate me if I come to India. So I've come here and I'm going to wait until he initiates me. Like he will come to me through someone else. For sure he's going to come to me through somebody else. So then I waited until I met
So now at that point you stayed in India. You didn't go back to Australia?
I stayed for 3 years at that time in India without money and everything.
Just in,
and I met Gurudev in that time.
In Mayapur or where? First you started?
No, actually in Mayapur at that time, just after his disappearance, I met the devotees from Srila Prabhupada's Centennial Office in Delhi. And I said, I would like to do something for Prabhupada this year for his centennial. And they said, yes, you can come and serve in the office with us. So I went and I spent 9 months in the office in Delhi, which was a lot of fun. A good introduction to India because we were inside most of the time and we just went out on Saturday nights for Harinam Sankirtan.
And you also were part of that big temple there, right?
It was being built at the time and the temple, the deities were in the restaurant. What is the restaurant now? The deities were in there. So we went there for Mangalati, that's all. We had our own temple in a house near to the temple. Anyway, I didn't want to. I wanted to hear from you.
Then when did you meet? Srila Gurudev?
97.
So it was that time when you were staying in Delhi, or?
No, I only stayed in Delhi for 96, all of 96 almost, and then in 97. You want me to tell you how I met Gurudev? I mean, you're supposed to be giving the class.
Yeah, because you told that Gaur Govinda Maharaj would initiate you, and I'm interested to hear.
At the end of 96, then I had to leave the Centennial Office in Delhi and I went to Vrindavan and I didn't know what to do and I was depressed then because where is my Guru? And then I was in ISKCON Vrindavan and Srila Gurudev's disciples from Australia were sort of coming into ISKCON Vrindavan and saying, come and meet our Guru. And I said, no, I'm in ISKCON. But then after a year of trying to live like that, I had no money left, and I was thinking I was going to get initiated from the person who was in charge of the Padayatra Centennial office where I was.
Okay.
But one day in Kartik 97, I was standing outside Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, and he walked past. And I turned to Srila Prabhupada and I said, okay, it's been a year, Srila Prabhupada. Today I give up on this guru. Today I want to meet Srila Narayan Maharaj, and I did. And it just happened. Srila Prabhupada arranged it for me. And
where?
I went to sit down outside Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, and one girl came to me, and she was a backpacker from Israel. And she said, I want to buy a Punjabi suit. Can you help me? And I said, I can take you to Le Bazaar. Yeah, but I don't have any money. So she paid for the rickshaw, which was 10 rupees at the time. And we got to Loy Bazaar, to the shops there, Ganga Prasad, and we went in, and there was Chandramukhi and Ragaleka from Australia were sitting in the back of the shop. And I said, I want to meet your guru. So they said, come on. And we just left the girl in the shop. And we walked to Rupsanat and Gaudiya Mat. And actually Gurudev was giving a darshan in this Seva Kunj at the time. And then...
That's the first time that you met him.
Yeah, and I looked around and everybody was Australian and I knew them all. And I looked at Gurudev and I said, he's a perfect person. And then Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Devendranath, he pushed me in the room. He said, after Gurudev went back in his room, he said, come on, Lakdinan. And I went in and I met Gurudev. I said, I was taking shelter of Srila Gauravinda Maharaj. She said, don't worry, I will accept you as my dear daughter. Yeah.
Was that during Kartik?
Yeah, like
so
the third last day of Kartik or something.
97 Kartik.
Very last end of Kartik.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway, don't make me speak anymore because...
But then when did Gurudev initiate you?
Actually, when did I make myself available to be initiated by Gurudev was 2000. I went back to Australia because it took me a while to understand what to do. And I went back to Australia and got initiated in Brajaballabha's place there.
Oh, Brajaballabha. So were you there when Gurudev came there?
Yeah.
To Murwillumbah? In 2000, huh? In 2000.
Yeah, January 2000.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I came back to get Diksha later that year in Kartik. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the glories of Srila Gauravinda Maharaj, I should be speaking and we should be speaking on his Vyasa Puja Day. And I'm not, because you're asking me about me, and I think I'm such a more interesting subject.
Because that's connected with your journey, how you met Gauravinda Maharaj so many times in Australia.
Actually, when he first came to New Govardhan, it might have been the first place he came in Australia. And most of the devotees then, they had been initiated by Bhavananda, and they were really like desperate and wow, this is the real guru. This is the real Mahabhagavat finally coming. So they all took off and they all went around Australia with him. Many of them.
His first tour was what year?
Mathura
was his first tour?
1990.
90, okay.
And then it started, the devotees in the temple started saying, oh, they have left their services. They were going after their real service after all these years of never having met a Mahabhagavat. So they followed him around Australia to Bali and back to Bhubaneswar, where a lot of them stayed for a year. Tapamishra, Gopinathacharya Prabhu, your godbrother. And,
I know all of them, yeah.
And then when they came back, they were changed. They were so different. Padmanabha Prabhu used to like chant very roughly, but very loud. But when he spent a year with Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, then he came back and he used to sing. His japa, he used to sing it very loud also.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so thank you for, I didn't know that about you, that you had that background with Gaura Govinda Maharaj. She'll do that when she comes back. Let her do that. Oh. So today is Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj's Divine Appearance Day. And on the website, on the website of Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj, on my Gmail, they sent for this day, but they didn't have any lectures from him, so they had a couple of downloads, so I downloaded the book. And it's basically a book telling who Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj is, about his life, everything. And I read that, most of that book I read this morning. So we'll hear about him today, and we will try our best to experience his divine personality. And so, but now we'll begin formally our class with Kirtan. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahans Astatarasata Shri Shila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahans Astatarasata Shri Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahans Astatarasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astotarasata Shri Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astotarasata Shri Shila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi Ki Jai. Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Vaishnav Sarvabhaum Shri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Gauri Vedanta Charja Baladev Vijayabhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Sadhu Goswami Ki Jai. Srila Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari. Gaura Parsada Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Si Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Antardweep Mayapur Simantadweep Godram Dweep Madhyadweep Koladweep Ritudweep Chanadweep Moda Drumadweep Rudadipatmaka Shri Shri Navadweep Dham Ki Jai. Jai Shri Purushottam Kshetra Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvadashavanatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai. Shyama Kunda, turn this a little louder. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govind Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiu Ki Jai. Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashta Shaki Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda Ki Jai. Shrimati Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi Ki Jai. Shri Gopishwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakrajiv Ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nrsinga Dev Ki Jai. Bhakta Pravara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charo Dham Charo Sampradaya Charo Acharya Ki Jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. और अनन्य शाखामत समूह की जाए. श्री विश्व वैष्णव राज सभा की जाए. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाए. त्रिभुवन पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाए. त्रिभुवन मंगल हरिनाम प्रभु की जाए. हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जाए. सचिनंदन गौर हरि की जाए. श्री नित्यानंद महाजन की जाए. श्री पंच तत्व की जाए. समवेत भक्त वृंद की जाए. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाए. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. I want to sing the song O Hey Vaishnava Thakur. Go to your Gaudiya Giti Gucha. O Hey Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori. O Hey Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori. O Hey Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori. O Hey Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna. Diya Pada Chaya Shoda He Amare. Diya Pada Chaya Shoda He Amare. Diya Pada Chaya Shoda He Amare. Diya Pada Chaya Tomara Charana Dori. Tomara Charana Dori. Tomara Charana Dori. Tomara Charana Dori. O Chaya Bega Domi Chaya Dosha Sori. Chai Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Bega Domi Chaya Dosha Sori. Chaya Guna O Chaya Vega Dami Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Vega Dami Chaya Dosha Shodhi Dase. Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare. Chaya Satsanga चाहे सत्संग देहो है हमारे छाया सत्संग বসেছি সংগ্রায়াসে বসেছি সংগ্রায়াসে ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করে ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর এ দাসে করুণা একাকী আমার নাহি পায় বলো হরি নাম সংকীর্তনে একাকী আমার তুমি কৃপা করি সদা বিন্দু দিয়া তুমি কৃপা করি তুমি কৃপা করি সদা বিন্দু দিয়া তুমি দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধনে ও কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমার শক্তি আছে ও কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমার শক্তি আছে আমি তো কঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি আমি তো কঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি ভাই তব পাছে পাছে ভাই তব পাছে পাছে ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি দিয়া পাদ ছায়া সদা হে আমারে দিয়া পাদ দিয়া পাদ ছায়া সদা হে আমারে তোমার চরণ দোরি ও তোমার চরণ দোরি জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়াল বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর Jaya Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, Gaur Govinda Goswami. Jaya Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gauranga 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 Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Shri Advaita Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol O Gaur Shri Advaita Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Gadadhar Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Gadadhar Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Shishivas Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Shishivas Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol 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 Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Vidayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tvishe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kamari Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Brabhanna Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasana Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, a little louder, onto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Astatara Sata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudev. That's a little too loud. Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Sri Srila A.C. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and on this glorious appearance day of Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, I offer my unlimited Dandavat Pranams at his lotus feet, and I beg for his causeless mercy that we can hear about his glorious life, his teachings, his qualities, the history of his transcendental life on this planet. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all of the Vaishnavas and to all of the Vaishnavis. So we have a book which is all about Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj. And so I'm going to select some parts from this book. Okay. You know, there's some very interesting history. Did you download that book also? No. Some very interesting history about his family deity. You know what his family's deity name is? Gopaljiu. Gopaljiu. And there's also an incredible history about his family line. For hundreds of years, they were in the category, this whole family line coming down for hundreds of years, they were considered to be the kirtan gurus of all of Orissa. The personalities who appeared in that family. And so from Gaur Govinda Maharaj's very childhood, he was continually always hearing kirtans of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and of so many other acharyas, sung by his own family members, his uncles and so forth. So there's a very interesting history about his grandfather, who he grew up in his early childhood, and how his grandfather was an exalted Paramahansa, pure Vaishnava, and how he selected to leave his body on a particular day and time. It's all explained here. No one can do that who are conditioned souls. But first, this family of Gaur Govinda Maharaj were called the Giri family, Giri. Now an ancestor, this is telling about how these famous deities, Radha Gopal Jiu, how did they come to Orissa? How did they come to Orissa? You can see a small, this is his Gopal deity, see? So, there was one ancestor of Gaur Govinda Maharaj who was named Sri Gadai Giri. And he founded the village of Gadai Giri in Orissa. When did he do that? In the late 1600s. So when did Mahaprabhu appear? 1486. 1486. So this is after Mahaprabhu's disappearance, in the late 1600s. And they would come down from Midnapur, which today is part of West Bengal. And they would sell, this family, they would sell brass and metal items door to door. So while they were on one such a trip, he heard the auspicious sounds of a flute, this ancestor. It doesn't say his name here. So he heard the auspicious sounds of a flute coming from the jungle while he was on this trip from Midnapur. And then the tinkle of ankle bells and the blowing of a conch intermingling with the calls of various birds. He heard all this. A local sadhu, whom Gadai Giri had befriended, oh yes, his name is Gadai Giri, the ancestor, sorry. But his village that he founded is also named Gadai Giri. So a local sadhu, whom Gadai Giri had befriended, recommended that he make his home in that very spot where he heard all of this, advising him that Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, must be present there. So wherever there is Krishna, then there dwells Goddess Lakshmi. So hence, all of Gadai Giri's needs would be met if he were to simply remain there in adoration of the Supreme Lord. So thus, Sri Gadai Giri made a clearing in the jungle and he built a thatched hut. He gave up his business. He constructed a small temple to Dadhi Vaman. Dadhi Vaman means Lord Jagannath. Never heard that name before. Dadhi Vaman. And he constructed this small temple and he engaged full time in the glorification of the Supreme Lord through kirtan and study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Did he do any work? Did he continue going door to door selling his brass and all of that? No. All he did was engage his full time in glorification of the Supreme Lord through kirtan and through the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Gadai Giri had one son who was named Gopal Giri. He became a great devotee of Lord Jagannath and he became a master of kirtan. It was he who named the village after his father, Gadai Giri. So that's how the village was started, in the middle of the jungle. Gopal Giri intensely desired to worship a deity of Lord Krishna from Vrindavan. However, he had no way to make the pilgrimage to Vrindavan in those days. There were no trains and all of that. So at that time, he was employed by the king as the podar, or the cashier, for the temple of Lord Jagannath. And whilst he was working in Puri, he frequently met the sadhus who came there. And then he would always request them to bring him a murti of Gopal from Vrindavan. However, his many requests remained unfulfilled. So now, at that time, there was a Babaji, a Vaishnav mendicant, in faraway Vrindavan, who was worshipping a deity of Lord Gopal. And while the Babaji went out daily begging alms, the deity would accompany him in a cloth bag. So he would carry his thakur with him as he would beg. One night, the Babaji had a vision in which Lord Gopal ordered the renunciate to take him to Puri, because he desired to stay with Gopal Giri and hear the Gadai Giri Kirtaniyas. Now at first, the Babaji disregarded the command of the Lord, thinking it was just an ordinary dream. And therefore, a few days later, the Lord appeared again, this time soundly beating the Babaji. He beat him. Then the Babaji awoke in pain, and he fervently apologized to Lord Gopal for ignoring his order. He immediately began the trek, walking from Vrindavan to Puri. Gopal Giri was well known in Puri, and the Babaji had no difficulty in locating him. And when they met, the Babaji handed over his Gopal deity requested in the divine instruction. So when he showed his wounds, wounds, because he was beaten and he had marks on his body. So when he showed these wounds to Gopal Giri, he healed them by his mere touch. Gopal Giri did. Gopal Giri offered the Babaji as much money as he liked. However, he declined. The Babaji declined. No. And he requested him instead that he remain with Lord Gopal as his pujari. So Gopal Giri resigned from his post at the Puri temple. He returned to the village of Gadai Giri, and he had a brass deity of Srimati Radharani made. And the divine couple Sri Sri Radha Gopal Jiu adorned the village temple altar. Now the village of Gadai Giri is most famous. The deities from Gadai Giri, Sri Sri Radha Gopal Jiu, are most famous. And the Giri family are famous in Orissa as they are seen as Kirtan Gurus. And it was in this family that Gaur Govinda Swami took his birth. And here is Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Ki Jai. Now, who was he, Gaur Govinda Swami? Who was he? That's actually the title of this little book. Who was he, Gaur Govinda Swami? Now it's describing his appearance. Gaur Govinda Swami appeared in this world on the 2nd of September, 1929, in the village of Jagannathpur. And that was corresponding to the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. But the year was different. In 1838, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And he took birth in the Indian state of Orissa, known as Odisha. Both the paternal and the maternal sides of Gaur Govinda Swami's family have been Vaishnavas for hundreds of years. Mother's side, father's side, all Vaishnavas. For hundreds of years. And this was dating back to when? To the time of Shyamananda Prabhu. And prior to that in Bengal for many, many centuries. So he appeared in such a family line. Amazing. You know, Shyamananda Prabhu was one of the 3 disciples who took Siksha from Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Srinivasacharya. So, you know, his paternal and maternal sides of his family, they've been Vaishnavas for hundreds of years, all the way back to the time of Shyamananda Prabhu. And then prior to that, because that was just after the time of Mahaprabhu. And then in Bengal for many, many centuries. So now, what was his astrology when he was born? Very interesting astrology. Once there was a famous astrologer mystic named Nityananda Kadiratna. He traveled from Dane Canal in Orissa. He stayed 2 days in Gadaigiri, the famous village of the ancestors of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So at that time, Gaur Govinda Swami was a small child. And along with his mother, Pata Devi, he was staying at his uncle's house in Gadaigiri. So Pata Devi took her son to the astrologer, desiring to know something about his future. So the astrologer mystic, he prophesied, this boy is very intelligent and is filled with devotion. He will marry and earn his livelihood in government service. And in his middle age, he will renounce family life. Middle age. He will renounce family life and become a sadhu. Then he will acquire higher knowledge and he will gain an important place on the map of sadhus. He will build temples. He will make Gopal, the family deity, Radha Gopal Jiu, he will make their place bright. Now, of course, this all came to pass. Then lastly, the astrologer mystic said, Krishna himself has sent this child from his eternal abode to the material world for preaching his eternal message and for the deliverance of the fallen conditioned souls. So that was the prediction of that astrologer. Now, here are the first remembrances of Gaur Govinda Swami when he was remembering his own early life. So Gaur Govinda Swami said that the first memories of his childhood were of hearing the songs of Narottam Das Thakur sung by his uncles. Well, isn't that a nice first memories in your life to have? Huh? The singing of the songs of Narottam Das Thakur by your uncles. A little bit different than our background. So, that was his first memories. His uncles, they were famous kirtaniyas. They were mystics, and they were great devotees of Lord Krishna. So, from a very young age, Gaur Govinda Swami was immersed in the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Get that? From a young age. He's absorbed and immersed in the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Ramayana also, the Mahabharata also, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srimad Bhagavad Gita as taught to him by his fathers, his uncles, and his grandfather. So Gaur Govinda Swami's life was by no means ordinary. He remembered that his father, his grandfather, and his uncles, they all kept sikas, they wore kanti mala, they chanted Mahamantra on beads, and they wore Vaishnav tilak. Now his grandfather, Bori Bandhu Giri, here's the amazing story of his grandfather. And this is a picture of him. His grandfather, Bori Bandhu Giri, who was a famous Kirtaniya and a great devotee, he taught him how to chant Hare Krishna from the very time that he first began to speak. Gaur Govind Maharaj, his grandfather, taught him how to chant Hare Krishna. Then as a child, Gaur Govinda Maharaj would go to sleep with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Do you know that? Clasped to his chest. When Gaur Govinda Maharaj was a small child, he would fall asleep with Srimad Bhagavatam, holding it to his chest. And at a very early age, he had memorized much of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes. Now here's the story about the passing of his grandfather, Bori Bandhu Giri. So whilst Gaur Govinda Swami was staying at the famous village of his ancestors at Gadai Giri, so his grandfather Bori Bandhu passed away. This was no ordinary occurrence. It was one day prior to Magh Saptami, which is also known as Advaita Saptami, the appearance day of Lord Advaita Acharya. Okay? And it was just the day before that, and that is a very auspicious day. It is the 7th day of the waxing of the moon in the month of Magh, which is the appearance day of Sri Advaita Acharya, the avatar of Mahavishnu. That day, Bori Bandhu Giri declared, tomorrow is Magh Saptami. I must leave my body tomorrow and leave this world. He requested that all his friends, relatives, and the local villagers come to see him and perform kirtan, Nam Samkirtan. So their chanting continued all night long, because the next day was Saptami, Advaita's appearance day. So they began on the day before, doing kirtan all through the night. So the next day, Magh Saptami, on Saturday the 28th of January 1939, they placed Bori Bandhu Giri under the open sky so he could see the sun, where all his family members were assembled. His eldest son, Gopinath Giri, said, "Today is an auspicious day, and therefore many pilgrims will take bath in Konark, whereafter they will go to Puri to have darshan of Lord Jagannath." And the pilgrims are on their way to Puri now. So this is his eldest son who's making this statement. That today, on this auspicious day, many pilgrims will take bath in Konark, where after taking bath there, they will go to Puri to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. So the pilgrims are now on their way to Puri. Then Bori Bandhu Giri asked his son, "Is the road clear to Puri?" Then Gopinath Giri looked to the sky, and he replied, "Yes. The pilgrims have left Konark. They are now in Puri." Then upon hearing this, Bori Bandhu Giri replied, "Then I will leave my body now. I will go to Jagannath now." And at that time, Bori Bandhu Giri gave up his body and entered into the Lord's pastimes. Gaur Premanandi. Now, Gaur Govinda Swami witnessed this when he was just a boy, 10 years old. This extraordinary way in which his grandfather left this world during a mighty kirtan. Then his grandfather, Bori Bandhu Giri, was actually able to choose the time and the day that he departed from this world. So Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj is quoted as saying, "My maternal grandfather lived to 69 years of age. And I was there when my grandfather left this world. I was a young boy. No one was upset. Everyone understood. Purushottam Dham, the road to Jagannath is clear. And he said, yes, I must go now. My grandfather was a very great devotee, a Paramahansa. So Bori Bandugiri left behind him, he had 3 sons. Bori Bandugiri had 3 sons. Gopinath Giri, Jagannath Giri, and Dinabandhu Giri. And he had 2 daughters, Patadevi and Hade Devi. Now, as the eldest son, Gopinath Giri was entrusted with the service of the famous deities, Sri Sri Radha Gopal Jiu, and their temple. So 2 of Bori Bandhu Giri's sons were named Gopinath and Jagannath Giri. They were expert kirtaniyas who always sang bhajans for Gopal. So these 2 extraordinary kirtaniyas who were the uncles of Gaur Govinda Swami, they left this world in a similar way to their father. Yes. So Gopinath Giri's son, Ganashyam Giri, he recalls that in 1967, at the age of 72, my father, Gopinath Giri, called his family, our family, and all of his friends, and he said to us, I will leave this world on the upcoming Agni Utsav day. That was corresponding to the appearance day of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, which was Friday, the 24th of February, 1967. So we stayed with him until he left his body that day during Harinam Samkirtan. This is the son of that son of Bori Bandhu Giri, Ganashyam Giri, is named the son of the son, Gopinath Giri's son. Then 18 years later, at the age of 85, my uncle Jagannath Giri left this world on the same day of Agni Utsav, Tuesday, the 5th of February 1985, in the month of Magh. So, most of our ancestors have left this world during the month of Magh. So, Govinda Giri, the great-grandfather of Gaur Govinda Swami, great-grandfather, not grandfather, great-grandfather. He lived from 1845 to 1933. His name was Govinda Giri. So he was the great-grandfather of Gaur Govinda Swami. He had also passed from this world on the Agni Utsav in the month of Magh. Now the Gadai Giri Kirtaniyas, who were the family members of Gaur Govinda Swami, they are the most famous kirtaniyas in the land of Orissa. And they are regularly invited to perform kirtan for Lord Jagannath in Puri, and they are considered kirtan gurus. So, as our Srila Prabhupada famously said, that books are the basis, utility is the principle, preaching is the essence. However, most important, he said, purity is the force. So throughout his entire life, Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj was a pure vegetarian. He did not consume meat, fish, eggs, poultry, even garlic and onions. He never took any kind of intoxication, never gambled, never indulged in illicit sex, either inside of marriage or outside of marriage. He did not listen to the radio. He never went to the cinema, nor watched television. He never in his life entered a bar or a hotel for the purpose of drinking alcohol. He never read mundane literature. Gaur Govinda Maharaj chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra from his childhood, and he read the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly from the tender age of 6 years old. He would regularly read and study the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita from the age of 12. Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita, age of 12. From the age of 17, now listen to this. From the age of 17, Gaur Govinda Swami began a serious study of the 4 Vedas, the 18 Puranas, and the 108 Upanishads, which kept him up late at night. However, he would still rise between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and maintaining a rigorous program of sadhana. He would not sleep more than 2 to 3 hours a night. This was his routine his routine life prior to joining the movement. As a matter of fact, it would be many years before he came to know about ISKCON. At that time, there was no ISKCON temple or preaching center in Orissa. However, because of the prominence of the Jagannath culture in Orissa, as well as his birth and upbringing in a family of great devotees, Gaur Govinda Swami was already fixed in all the principles of Vaishnavism. He did not need to join a spiritual organization or a religious society to learn to abide by the regulated principles. He was following purely prior to joining ISKCON. His whole family was following purely. Well-wishers and observers, they have made the comment that he, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, was a saint within ISKCON. Gaur Govinda Swami came to this world pure, and he never deviated from the Vedic principles, whereby he set up the example, and he taught devotees philosophically and practically by his own exemplary personality. Now, here's the story of his journey to find his guru. Gaur Govinda Maharaj went on a long journey. So, Gaur Govinda Swami married at the age of 21, and his wife was 16. He raised a family of 7 children while maintaining teaching posts at high schools in Orissa. It was from Kujang High School, while he was maintaining a senior teaching post, that he resigned. You know, resigned? He gave up his work, his job, and he left home, and he became a wandering mendicant. In 1974, at the age of 45 years, on Ram Navami, the divine appearance day of Lord Ramachandra, Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, after 24 years of household life, he left. And he began traveling around India to search out a bona fide sadhu, a guru who would give him sannyas, in order for him to take to the preaching mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was the desire that he had cherished from when he was just a young boy. He wanted to become a sadhu, a sannyasi, and travel and preach the mission of Mahaprabhu everywhere. So the route that he followed, it was similar to that which was taken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu came and traveled around South India and everywhere. So now Gaur Govinda Maharaj left his house in Orissa and he began traveling on the similar route of Mahaprabhu. And when Mahaprabhu was on this very planet, he traveled on pilgrimage to many of the sacred sites of India. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj also went on that. Now, Gaur Govinda Swami was in search of Sri Krishna. He was in search of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Srimad Bhagavatam, these 3 things. He had decided for himself that where he found these 3 together, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Srimad Bhagavatam, then he would stay there and surrender. So after traveling all over India, and after meeting many sadhus without success meaning that he didn't find his guru like this, so he decided to go to Vrindavan, the land of Krishna, in the hope that his desires would be fulfilled there. By Krishna's divine arrangement, Gaur Govinda Swami found what he was looking for in the teachings of his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And when he came upon the ISKCON land in Vrindavan, where at that time there was a temple being built, this Krishna Balaram temple, the ISKCON temple there, it was already under construction, but it wasn't completed yet. So, but on that very land, when he came upon the ISKCON land in Vrindavan, what happened? Some of the Western disciples of Srila Prabhupada warmly welcomed him, and they handed him a copy of Back to Godhead magazine. And Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj was very intrigued. What is this? So merely by seeing the picture of Srila Prabhupada in the magazine, and of course he's receiving it from Western-bodied Vaishnavas, so when he saw the picture in the magazine, Gaur Govinda Swami recognized that he was a self-realized soul, and he understood, this is my spiritual master. So when he read how Srila Prabhupada had spread the chanting of Hare Krishna all over the world, then he remembered a verse from Chaitanya Bhagavat, predicting that how this chanting of Hare Krishna would spread worldwide. And what is that verse? Prithivite ache jata nagaradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. Antyakanda, Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 4, verse 126. Now Gaur Govinda Maharaj later reminisced. He was reminiscing, and this is what he told when he was reminiscing. He said, I thought, yes, this Swami has fulfilled the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I must meet him. So during their first meeting, Srila Prabhupada asked Gaur Govinda Swami, have you taken sannyas? To which Gaur Govinda Swami replied, no. Then Srila Prabhupada immediately replied, then I will give you sannyas. So Gaur Govinda Swami thought to himself, that is the symptom of a pure devotee. That is his symptom. He is a bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Chaitya Guru in the heart. He knows my heart. So Gaur Govinda Swami related, I was instantly attracted to him, and I accepted him as my guru. I understood this to be the prompting of the Super Soul. Now, in volume 1, which is titled Encountering the Krishna Lingata Vigraha, then the following is described by a Prabhupada disciple from England named Gunarnava Prabhu. You know him? Yes. So, Gunarnava was very fortunate to witness the meeting of two such rare personalities in Vrindavan, the Sadguru and the Sadshishya. Now he said, Gunarnava said, Prabhupada took a lot of care. He really took him, Gaur Govinda Swami, very close. They would spend a lot of time together. So Prabhupada took him right under his wing. That is what I'm saying, that he, Gaur Govinda Swami, he kept to himself. He didn't socialize. He was with his thoughts. He was with Krishna. he was thinking, and he was very happy to meet Prabhupada. And he saw Prabhupada as the real thing. But Guru Maharaj, your Guru Maharaj, wasn't a foot soldier, you see. He was special. He had a special connection with Prabhupada. That's what he's telling to the disciples of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. He's saying, but your Guru Maharaj, he wasn't a foot soldier. You see, he was special. He had a special connection with Prabhupada. See what I mean? It just expands on, it reconfirms what I've been saying, that Prabhupada had a special relationship with him. So those are the recollections of Gunarnava. Now comes the story of his sannyas. In 1975, I was there on that day in 1975 in the Krishna Balaram temple when Srila Prabhupada was sitting up, not on his Vyasasan, but in the area where they have like stairway there on the side, and they had an entire arrangement of a big fire yajna all in front of Srila Prabhupada. So, of course, I didn't know who this person was, this Indian-bodied person, but he took sannyas with my godbrother, Sripad Tripurari Swami. Yes, on that very same day and ceremony. Side by side, he took sannyas with Tripurari Swami. We all knew him. He was very famous in ISKCON because he was, like Prabhupada gave him a little title, Incarnation of Book Distribution. Yeah. So, in 1975, 1 year to the day after he had left his family life, just 1 year later, and after he had traveled the length and breadth of India in search of a bona fide guru to take shelter of, then on the occasion of Ram Navami, during the opening of the Sri Sri Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, then Srila Prabhupada awarded Gaur Govinda Swami sannyas, thereby fulfilling the desire he had cherished his whole life to take sannyas and preach the mission of Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. And when Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas to Gaur Govinda Swami, he said to him, "You have understood." Then Srila Prabhupada at different times, he said of his disciple, Gaur Govinda Swami, that Krishna has sent him. Gaur Govinda Swami is a devotee from birth, Prabhupada said. And, oh, Gaur Govinda Swami, he is so sincere. Many things Prabhupada told. Now, when Srila Prabhupada entrusted Gaur Govinda Swami with 3 important services, what are those 3 important services? Here's the list. Number 1, to preach in Orissa and to build a temple like the temple in Jagannath Puri. Number 2, to translate Srila Prabhupada's English books into Oriya. Number 3, to take disciples and train them. In a darshan in Bhubaneswar on the 24th of November 1989, so Gaur Govinda Swami said, "I am not a worthy person. I am an unworthy fellow. But he, Srila Prabhupada, he showered his mercy on me. And when he whispered to me in this room, this hut in Bhubaneswar, he told me, 'You have to accept disciples and train them. You should have your own men, otherwise how can you manage?'" So this is 1989 that he told these words, that Prabhupada had personally told him back in 1977 when he was staying in the hut with Gaur Govinda Maharaj. He told him, "You have to accept disciples and train them." And this is long before, months before Prabhupada and the incident in Prabhupada's room when there was 11 people mentioned who could do Ritvik on behalf of Srila Prabhupada for all the devotees who were waiting to be initiated by Prabhupada. And later on they misinterpreted this and misrepresented this, that Prabhupada was appointing them to be gurus, these 11. So, but here, in the beginning, is around February of 1977, months, at least 6 months before. Prabhupada told him that he should accept disciples. And we also know that Prabhupada also told others that he should be Guru and Acharya. And one other Vaishnava named Radha Govinda Swami. These two Indian-bodied disciples, Prabhupada told, they can both initiate. But that's a side story. Nevertheless, now in a darshan in Bhubaneswar on the 18th of April 1994, then Gaur Govinda Swami repeated the same point. What was that? The following: that Srila Prabhupada whispered in my ear, you have to accept disciples and train them. You should have your own men, otherwise how can you manage? Now the devotees who were there in Bhubaneswar in 1977, they witnessed. Who was there? Bhagwat Prabhu. They witnessed that Srila Prabhupada and Gaur Govinda Swami would have many private discussions with no one else present in the hut. For 17 days Prabhupada stayed there. And you know, well, it says here that they wanted to put Prabhupada in some big hotel. But Prabhupada said, no, I want to stay in this mud hut with my disciple, Gaur Govinda Swami. So Prabhupada and Gaur Govinda Swami lived together in that small mud hut for 17 days. And every day they had many, many hours of discussion. Now, upon receiving these 3 instructions from his spiritual master, so Gaur Govinda Maharaj returned to Orissa, and he began to work on what would become the famous Krishna Balaram temple in Bhubaneswar. So at the same time, he began to translate Srila Prabhupada's books into Oriya. And this seva he continued every day for the rest of his life. He would translate sitting cross-legged on the floor, using a tin trunk as a table, and he wrote for hours by hand. He used no technology at all. There was no electricity even on the land until early 1977. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj took to heart the first 2 instructions given by Srila Prabhupada of building a temple and presenting his spiritual master's books to the people of Orissa without hesitation. He took these 2 instructions. However, very hesitantly, and only after many years, did he take on the role of guru, which was the 3rd instruction he received from Srila Prabhupada. And as he understood that being a guru is a very heavy responsibility. Now, Gaur Govinda Maharaj stayed there on this land in Bhubaneswar under extremely austere conditions. That land was donated to Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON. Now, in the early years of 1974 to 1976, there were still even bears, tigers, and elephants roaming wild in that area. And many dacoits means like thieves, that were frequenting that area. So Srila Prabhupada, he had accepted many Western disciples, and he taught them the glories of Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri Dham, where Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. However, when Prabhupada's Western disciples went to visit Jagannath Puri, they were refused entrance to the famous Jagannath temple. Until the present time, even, the foreign devotees of Lord Jagannath are still not allowed inside the ancient temple of the Lord of the universe. Now, when Srila Prabhupada learned of this discrimination against his disciples, he became very sad. He was preaching the glories of Sri Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Lord Jagannath. Throughout the world, Prabhupada was preaching. But the administration and the pandas of the temple would not allow his disciples entry for Jagannath's darshan. This gave Srila Prabhupada such a great shock that he developed deep sulkiness. You know what that sulkiness is called? Man. And thereafter he decided that he would not travel to Orissa again, especially to Jagannath Puri. This was like in the early 70s when Prabhupada brought his first Western disciples to India. And he would not travel to Orissa, especially to Jagannath Puri, the dham that is very dear to Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, how could Srila Prabhupada, a Gaur Priya Jana, a very dear devotee of Mahaprabhu who had cent per cent received the mercy of Mahaprabhu, how could he fulfill the Lord's prophecy of his message being spread throughout the world? So, after Gaur Govinda Swami's Harinam initiation in Mayapur, then Srila Prabhupada had said to him, Gaur Govinda, you will take me to Orissa. Thus, Srila Prabhupada gave him that responsibility. And Srila Prabhupada then said to him, I will build a temple in Bhubaneswar like Jagannath temple in Puri, because my Western disciples are not allowed to enter that temple. Lord Jagannath will come and he will stay in Bhubaneswar. Then all my disciples can go there and have his darshan. Yes. Now, Srila Prabhupada came to Bhubaneswar in early 1977. And although arrangements had been made for him to stay comfortably in the state government guest house, he refused. He said, I will only stay on the land where my disciple Gaur Govinda has built a mud hut for me. And when many of Srila Prabhupada's senior disciples wanted to abandon the Bhubaneswar project because it was in an isolated and a very out-of-the-way place, and they wanted to start a large project in Jagannath Puri, Srila Prabhupada prophesied that the Bhubaneswar temple would be as famous as the Jagannath temple in Puri, and that it would become the center of the city. Srila Prabhupada stayed in Bhubaneswar for 17 days. He waited for the auspicious occasion of Lord Nityananda's appearance day to lay the foundation stone. And thus, the Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir in Bhubaneswar was Srila Prabhupada's last founded project. Yes. Now Mayapur, now it's jumping to the after Srila Prabhupada left the planet. It's jumping to a point in Gaur Govinda Maharaj's biography of a time period when he was in Mayapur, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, in 1978, and that was like the end of 78 to the beginning part of 79. So have you heard about this before? Yes. Yes. Now in Sridham Mayapur, at the end of 1978 to the beginning part of 79, Gaur Govinda Swami was seen to be displaying bodily symptoms that no ordinary person could display. Yes? Many devotees and onlookers, they were bewildered by what they saw. And they concluded that Gaur Govinda Swami, he was ill. He had some sickness. That's what their conclusion. However, when any health practitioners were consulted, then they could not diagnose his symptoms. They could not understand that there was any known medical condition. So then they brought exorcists. You know what an exorcist is? Someone who can get rid of ghosts. Even when the exorcists were consulted, they found no ghosts. No ghosts were attaching themselves to Gaur Govinda Swami. And though he had lost half of his body weight, he was not ill in the ordinary sense. And the exorcists were not able to find ghosts. Therefore, what was Gaur Govinda Swami's condition? What actually was it? So there's a small book. They tell about that book here. There was one of our godbrothers named Lagudi. You probably know him because he was living in that ISKCON temple in Murwillumbah. And Lagudi, I think he's from one of the eastern... Where? Yeah, Yugoslavia. That's right, Yugoslavia. He actually taught me some Hatha Yoga in 1979 when I was there at the... Huh? On the back of a horse. Okay. While the horse is moving. Okay, yeah. So, anyway, Lagudi wrote a book which was telling the story of, there's like 4 months, something like 4 months, in the long building that you see in Mayapur now. We used to call it the long building because it was just there by itself back then, you know. Now it's actually on the backside of the big new temple that they're building. That long building is just immediately on the back side of that new temple. So, you know, I heard from the book and I also read the book where he was describing all the symptoms of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So, but the main point is that his body, Gaur Govinda Swami's body, began to change colors from red to pink to green to white to yellow and so on. So all the devotees were very concerned. They decided to take Gaur Govinda Swami to the astrologer, the very same astrologer who had made all the predictions about Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada could build a house in which the whole world could live. So, when they brought him there, the astrologer examined him and he explained to them that Gaur Govinda Maharaj was experiencing bhav, the advanced stage of ecstatic love of Godhead. Then there was another person who could conclude what it was, and that was Srila Prabhupada's exalted godbrother, Srila Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. Prabhupada called him Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji. He was a Paramahansa. Prabhupada used to say that about him. And that personality, he alluded to the exalted character of Gaur Govinda Swami. And he said, he is a Mahabhagavat. So I know the story, because when they brought him there, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was lying on his back, completely unconscious. And he would lie like that a long time. So when they brought Krishnadas Babaji there, he took a piece like torn from the cloth, just like a little thread, and he placed it in front of Gaur Govinda Maharaj's, he examined his other symptoms, and then he placed that in front of Gaur Govinda Maharaj's nose, and there was movement. So in other words, he was still conscious, but externally he was appearing completely unconscious. And when he saw these various symptoms, he said, the devotees who were there, they told me this. They said, oh, Krishnadas Babaji said, Bhav, he is in Bhav, like this. Then the devotees took Srila Gaur Govinda Swami to a Brahmana, Sri Narayana Ramanuja Das. He was from the Sri Sampradaya. He was an Ayurvedic doctor and a mystic who concluded, and he also concurred with Srila Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj's observation that Gaur Govinda Maharaj was not suffering from any material illness, but that Gaur Govinda Swami was certainly displaying the symptoms of a highly advanced devotee, a Maha Bhagavat. Now, this subject matter has been discussed in greater detail in the authorized biography of Gaur Govinda Swami, which is titled Krishna Lingata Vigraha, one who is always embraced by Krishna, Volume 1. So, now, in Srila Prabhupada's prophecies, now they came true. In January 1991, after 16 years of determined and dedicated endeavor, Gaur Govinda Swami fulfilled the instruction of his most beloved spiritual master when the Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir was opened there in Bhubaneswar. Lord Jagannath came of his own accord. And also, as Srila Prabhupada foretold, the Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir is now the center of the city, attracting thousands of people to Krishna consciousness. Gaur Govinda Swami introduced Rath Yatra and also Chandan Yatra in Bhubaneswar. And in accordance with the observance of these festivals in Jagannath Puri. So after acquiring nearby land in 2004, then a large Gundicha temple for Lord Jagannath is at present under construction in Bhubaneswar and is nearing completion by the efforts of followers and the disciples of Gaur Govinda Swami. So, I don't know, I haven't heard of the completion of that temple, Gundicha, and I don't know when this book was actually put together. But so this is the section of the biography of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, which describes his life, which describes his extraordinary connection with Srila Prabhupada, his incredible birth as a pure Vaishnava in a line for hundreds of years of very exalted, pure Vaishnava Kirtaniyas, his extraordinary qualities in his childhood. Can you imagine at the age of 17, taking up this study of all the Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads? So, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, when he was engaging in his mission of service to Srila Prabhupada, of course he began to travel and preach all over the world. But he would make this statement many times that he wanted to do three things that are very important to me. These are his words. I want to do three things that are very important to me. One, I want to preach to the preachers because it causes me so much pain to see the devotees falling down and going away. The second point is that I want to show how everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. And those persons who are saying that Srila Prabhupada only gave ABC, that causes me so much pain in my heart. Thus, I want to make them silent. Then the third thing is that I want to show how all the tattvas, all the higher teachings are in ISKCON, so there is no need to go anywhere else. Okay, so I have some comment on this. You can imagine. You know, later it actually describes that Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, in his astrology chart, he was supposed to live practically till the age of 90, something like that. But he disappeared much, much earlier. But we know a lot more about this. Why? Because we were very closely associated with Gaura Govinda Maharaj's disciples, senior ones, in Malaysia, from the year 1995, 1 year before he departed this world. My godbrother, Pran Kishore, and myself. We were in Malaysia, and actually we came there to also use that place as a place for selling art and making, collecting money, and then being able to give donations to Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj. So we were associated with many of those senior disciples. Jagadish Pandit was there, and many, many others. And they used to tell us many stories about Gaura Govinda Maharaj because they had spent a number of years with him. And how Gaura Govinda Maharaj was very, very unhappy and very much against the GBC, although he was a GBC member himself. But in the meetings, on a few occasions, they wanted to take a vote to determine what the Siddhanta is going to be regarding the fall of the Jiva. And Gaura Govinda Maharaj was extremely upset that they actually took a vote that, we hereby conclude that the Jiva has fallen from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Nonsense. And they made that the official line of ISKCON. So naturally, Gaura Govinda Maharaj was not going to accept that whatsoever. And what he did was he actually was discussing this with his disciples, and how he wanted to show that in Prabhupada's own books, there are many statements that are completely the opposite of what these GBC are telling. But there's no possibility that the Jiva could have fallen from Vaikuntha, from the spiritual world. Many statements. So he had them collect these statements together, and they made a kind of, I don't think it was it wasn't a printed book, or maybe it was printed later on. Huh? Called what? Our Original Position? Okay. Well, I never saw that book visually. But nevertheless, it was compiled from Srila Prabhupada's quotations. And the other thing is that as Gaura Govinda Maharaj was traveling, various ISKCON leaders, they felt very much, uncomfortable, intimidated Because Gaur Govinda Maharaj, in the classes, when he was visiting ISKCON temples and so forth, he would directly speak to the ISKCON leader there. And he would put them on the spot regarding their understanding of particular philosophical point and like this. Now, Gaur Govinda Maharaj became well known in ISKCON because during the Gaur Purnima festivals, when all the devotees had come from all over the world, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was requested to speak in the main class, given in the Chandrodaya Mandir, in front of 1,000 devotees or whatever. And after he spoke that class, Tamal Krishna Maharaj got up and made an announcement that how wonderful this class was, and we are requesting you, Maharaj, to again give class tomorrow. And that ended up that he gave for a few days in a row. Why? Because his understanding was way, way beyond any other of the ISKCON leaders. And it's interesting that even this personality was admitting this fact publicly in front of everyone. So, but there were some individuals who had positions of leadership, like in Germany and some of those countries in Europe. I'm not going to mention the names of the people. That's for them to work it out themselves within their own hearts. But they actually raised a ban against Gaur Govinda Maharaj coming to their zone, their GBC zone. So, you know, there are actually recordings of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj and video recordings of him where he had just returned from Mayapur. This is going on over a period of a few years before he departed in 1996, beginning of 96, but for a few years prior to that. And he would openly express his pain in his heart at what is going on in the ISKCON hierarchy, leadership of ISKCON. And you know, this is what the Gaur Govinda Maharaj disciples told to me. I've also seen a video of him expressing what had just happened in the GBC meetings in Mayapur, and he now is he's returning to Bhubaneswar, and he's telling the story there. But because we were with Gaur Govinda Maharaj's disciples in Malaysia, many of them expressed to us about Gaur Govinda Maharaj's unhappiness about what was transpiring from the ISKCON leadership side, and particularly also even towards him. And what I understand is that the GBC body in that year, 1996, on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj was there, staying in the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir guest house, some one room there. And then two devotees came there. You know who they were? Two lady devotees. Vaijanti Mala Didi and Chandrika, yes. And they wanted to ask Gaur Govinda Maharaj some couple of philosophical questions. So they came into his room and requested him to kindly give his help for them to hear about this particular topic. So what I have heard from Gaur Govinda Maharaj's disciples is that just prior to that last final talk that he gave. Just prior to that, there were GBC meetings that occurred. And they were now planning that they were going to ban Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj from ISKCON in their coming up meetings. So now, of course, I'm making this statement. Anyone can challenge this. I have only heard this from his disciples. But Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, as he had been banned already from that particular zone, and now, because they saw that Gaura Govinda Maharaj is not speaking just what's in Prabhupada's books, but he's speaking such lengthy lectures, 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes, you know. And he would bring a whole stack of books there. And like Gaura Govinda Maharaj told, he told it directly, we already read that statement from him, that he wanted to show that everything is there in Srila Prabhupada's books. And in order to do that, he began to show absolutely conclusively that it's there in Prabhupada's books. And there's no doubt about it. Anybody that becomes familiar with our Gaudiya Siddhanta, the Rupanuga Siddhanta, the Siddhanta that is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, by our Srila Prabhupada in his books, there is no question that Srila Prabhupada presented everything in his books. He actually did present everything in his books. And Gaura Govinda Maharaj proved that. So, but like we just read, the third statement that Gaura Govinda Maharaj wanted in his mission were that since everything is there, and all these higher teachings, they're in ISKCON, so no need to go anywhere else. But what I heard is that Gaura Govinda Maharaj, like his ancestors, like his grandfather, he chose to leave this world before they would officially give their ISKCON leadership ban against him. And therefore he left, which was very surprising. All of his disciples were absolutely in shock because he didn't show symptoms that there was illness or that he was weakened. He didn't show any of those symptoms. But yet, by his own desire, while he was speaking this conclusive discussion about what? About Radha and Krishna meeting eye to eye after Krishna had come, that is described to some extent in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, how Krishna was in Dwarka, and the whole story which is there in our Gurudev's Ratha Yatra book, very clearly explained. And Gaura Govinda Maharaj was telling that same pastime. Then all of a sudden he said, "Excuse me," he leaned back and laid on the bed that he was sitting on. He said, "I cannot speak anymore." And then suddenly the servant came there to the room, and whoosh, he suddenly left his body. And you know, many of the Gaura Govinda Maharaj disciples, they didn't believe it that he left his body. The ones who were right there in Mayapur. Why didn't they believe it? Because years earlier he had exhibited those symptoms. And this was not believable to them that he just suddenly left his body. So this went on. And even while they were transporting Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj's transcendental body from Mayapur all the way back to Bhubaneswar, they were still thinking, well, at any moment he can come out of this again. But Gaura Govinda Maharaj decided that he was going to make his exit at that time. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada personally instructed him, don't ever leave the society. Don't ever leave. So, but does that mean that if anybody leaves, that they're very bad? No. No. Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he supported devotees that left because of the offenses that the ISKCON leaders were making against Maha-Bhagavat Vaishnavas, and they were banning the devotees who were going to hear from exalted personalities who were extremely dear to Srila Prabhupada, like Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Maharaj. In my case, I was also banned, simply because I would not accept the GBC ban, and I would not follow that ban. And they also said that they would ban anyone who goes to hear from Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. So I said, no, I'm not following that. And then I was ostracized from the institution in 1984, end of 84. This is my 40th year anniversary of being out of the institution. Technically. But can they ban a devotee from his spiritual master's mission? Absolutely not. Hell no. Never ever can they do that. So then later on they also banned Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj in a very nasty way. And they banned anyone that came under his guidance and taking shelter under him. And as I've already mentioned, even they went to the extent of banning Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So, okay, this is all past history, it's true. It's all past history. But those bans have not been lifted yet, which is what Srila Gurudev told in Alachua, Florida, in 2007, in Gurudev's bedroom after his morning walk. They brought one devotee there named Brahmatirtha Das, who was invited by Jalakar Das to come and meet Gurudev. And at that time, Brahmatirtha was kind of acting as a mediator, like a professional mediator within ISKCON, for mediating between sections of ISKCON, like that. And when he came there, Jalakar introduced him while Gurudev's sitting in his bedroom, and we're all sitting around after the morning walk. And he introduced him, and then he introduced himself. And he said, I'm acting as a mediator, and I'd like to offer my services like this. And Gurudev said, I have already made multiple attempts to have communication with the ISKCON leaders about this. And we can tell the dates, the places when Gurudev, like in, Hridayananda Maharaj's house on the border of Beverly Hills. There's even videos and audios of Gurudev. And he met with them multiple times in a very sincere way. And I remember in that conversation with them, Gurudev told them, all of this can be very easily settled. Simply, sometimes you all will come and visit with me, and sometimes I'll come and visit with you, and in a very simple-hearted way, this can all be solved. But they were not ready. So, Srila Gurudev told this devotee, Brahmatirtha, I have already tried. I have already tried. I will not waste any more of my time. Only one thing has to take place. They should lift the ban. So that was it. We came out of the room. There was no possibility that Gurudev was going to give any of his time at all for that. Then we even made an attempt. And told, oh, maybe we should meet together with Mahabudhi Prabhu, Bopadev's brother. And we discussed this. And we discussed it with Brahmatirtha. That maybe first we should try to meet with senior devotees and Prabhupada disciples who are following Srila Narayan Maharaj, but they're Prabhupada disciples. And we made some attempt in that way on a number of occasions, but nothing came of it at all. And then I remember in 2009, when I was in Los Angeles, I was assigned to go there by Srila Narayan Maharaj to try to help the temple that had closed down. It had closed down. And they only had one little place in the basement. And so, early on, when I arrived there, it was probably like April, and then Srila Gurudev came, I think in May, to Houston. And we all went out to Houston to see Gurudev. And there was this whole big discussion. I'm not going to get into details. But then, when I came back to LA, then not too long after that, within the first couple of months, then they had the LA Ratha Yatra Festival, which comes directly on Venice Beach, 2 blocks away from where Gurudev's temple is, or was. And so, all of our devotees, we went to take part in the festival. But within a very short distance from that meeting point of Rose Avenue and the, what do they call it, the promenade, or not the promenade, the walkway just in front of Venice Beach there. And it happened that I saw Radhanath Swami, who had been leading part of the kirtan but now the procession had reached the end, and that's where they're going to now have a stage program, and they had so many tents set up. And I decided to go and introduce myself to Radhanath Swami. And I came up to him and I said, Maharaj, my name is Bhaktivedanta Padmanabha Swami. I'm Prabhupada disciple. My name before was Urukrama Das, and we have a temple just nearby here for Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. And then he said, oh, you're Padmanabha Maharaj? Oh, I want to speak with you. So then he walked me over to the back side of one of the tents where we just came, where there was nobody else, and we sat together. And then he told me, he said, our GBC met together. So remember, this is 1979. And he said, our GBC met together this year. And we concluded that we should make an apology to Srila Narayan Maharaj. 2009. 1979. 2009. That we should make an apology to him, and I said, oh? He says, yeah, we were discussing amongst ourselves that when we had decided to officially ban not just Srila Narayan Maharaj, but anyone else that was, from Gaudiya Math, any preacher outside of ISKCON, none of them can come and speak in ISKCON like this. But we didn't go and we didn't inform in a kind of a formal way with a small committee from our GBC. We had discussed it, that we were going to form a small committee, then we were going to personally go to Srila Narayan Maharaj and we were going to inform him of the conclusion that we reached, and that we made this new resolution in ISKCON that we cannot associate with him anymore and he will be banned. So he said, yeah, we never did that. We didn't go to him as a small group to inform him that he's been banned. So we have now discussed that we should go to him and we should inform him that we want to apologize for the fact that we didn't come and inform you that you're banned. When I heard that from him, I was like incredulous that they actually think that that's okay and that's an actual apology. So I just dropped it. I just dropped it and I left. You know, that was the end of our conversation. And they actually did come and try to make such an apology, but nothing came of it. So basically what I'm saying is that this connects with Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, okay? Because he was even banned within ISKCON, okay? So, you know, although he said that he wanted to have accomplished 3 things that were very important to him in his preaching mission. The first one was that he wanted to preach to the preachers, because he cannot tolerate to see the senior devotees leaving and falling down and going away. Second thing was, he wants to show how everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books, and that he wanted to stop the people who are saying that Prabhupada's books he only gave ABCs. Because he said that causes so much pain in my heart that when I hear them say that Prabhupada only gave ABC, so I want to make them silent. That was the second thing. And then his third thing is that I want to show how all the tattvas, all the higher teachings are in ISKCON, so there is no need to go anywhere else. But is that a fact? First of all, Ja Bhagavata Para Vaishnavera Stani. If you want to understand any of these literatures, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj emphasized this so much. Our Gurudev, all of the acharyas, they emphasized that if you want to understand the deep tattvas, you have to hear from somebody that is realized. And even to realize that everything is in Prabhupada's books is not an easy thing. Can neophytes realize that? No. You have to be advanced yourself in the Gaudiya Siddhanta to understand and to be able to see and perceive how Srila Prabhupada gave everything. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada told that all the other books of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas should be translated. And that's why they started to translate all those books, because in 1975, at the conclusion of our marathon for producing the Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months, what could not be done for, 2 years, we did it in 2 months by Prabhupada's order. We produced 18 books in 2 months. And so at that point, the BBT secretary, who was Ramaswar Das at that time, he asked Prabhupada in his interview for his BBT newsletter that was printed. It was like a monthly newsletter at that time, the BBT newsletter. And he asked Prabhupada, so Srila Prabhupada, if you finish the Bhagavatam, then what will you translate? Will you translate another very big, Vedic epic like Mahabharata, or some, Vedanta Sutra, something like that? And then Prabhupada answered that, no, those books are not as important for us in terms of bhakti as the books of our acharyas. The books of the 6 Goswamis and our acharyas, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all of our Gaudiya acharyas, their books should be translated. So, and then at that time, not long after that, then the one disciple of Prabhupada named Kusakrata Das, he had studied Sanskrit for a few years, and he began to try to translate so many books, and he did. And now to this day, we have Sripad Banu Swami in ISKCON, who has done tremendous amount of translation. Then there's a whole group of devotees who were students of Gopi Puranadana Prabhu. And they're translating the whole Srimad Bhagavatam with all the commentaries of all of our acharyas. That's a big, big project going on. So, but the thing is that Gaura Govinda Maharaj is telling here, no need to go anywhere else. That would be true if they would have not committed the offenses in ISKCON against these exalted Mahabhagavad Vaishnav acharyas. That would have been true. That you can remain within, and you can associate with them, and you can advance through sadhu sangha with these exalted personalities. But Krishna had a different plan. Krishna had a different plan. And so therefore, by Krishna's plan, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, although banned, he began to travel the length and breadth of the world for the next 15 years and translate all the necessary books for all future generations of Vaishnavas. Yes, he did. So in this way, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, I recognize him as a fully perfected, fully realized Paramahansa Mahabhagavad Vaishnava, and our Gurudev also recognized him in that way. I was present in Singapore when Gurudev told those words. He is definitely a Rupanuga Vaishnava in our line. So from that time, I'm just telling my little story to end today's discussion about Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, but because I had associated with his disciples for that year, that was 1995, and Pran Kishore and his wife and daughter and myself, we were there in Malaysia, and we were associating with the disciples of Gaura Govinda Maharaj for nearly 1 year. And then, by that time, because they were actually working on his book, what's it called? That one of the early books of Gaura Govinda Maharaj that were produced from his lectures, Embankment of Separation. They printed that and they were working on that at the time that we were associating with them. And so they were hearing from us about Srila Narayan Maharaj, and they were quite open to hearing about him, and we were hearing from them about Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. So over a period of time, then I also heard some recorded lectures of him. We didn't have YouTube in those days. Now you can go on YouTube and directly hear dozens and dozens of his lectures and his ecstatic kirtans on these important occasions, Nityananda Trayodasi, just before he left this world. Very, very historical kirtans where he was absolutely absorbed in ecstasy. But anyway, I had come to a conclusion at that time. This was beginning of 1996. And I was on my way back to Los Angeles after spending a few months there. And I stopped over in Taiwan, which was another place where we could sell paintings at that time. So I decided to stay there for a month and check it out. And I remember in that month, which was the month of February, I got a phone call. I was staying in some guest house place, and they called me down we didn't have a phone in our room, but they called me down to the phone at the front desk. So I was sitting there on a chair, and I answered the phone. It was Pran Kishore. Pran Kishore was calling me, I think from Malaysia. I can't quite remember. But he said, I'm calling because there's some very heavy news that a very exalted Vaishnava personality has left this world very suddenly. And I said, who? Then he told me. He says, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I says, what? What? Well, what's the circumstances? Oh, in Mayapur. He was suddenly speaking Harikatha, and then he suddenly left his body. I said, what? I couldn't believe it. And to me, that was because I didn't have the chance to directly sit and associate with Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, except one time in Los Angeles for about an hour at the end of his 3-hour class. I happened to be there. That was around 94 or 95 when he came to Los Angeles. And I heard about an hour of his katha. And so when Pran Kishore told me this, I was a little bit in shock because I had a plan that when I would go back to India, that I would actually go and meet Gaur Govinda Maharaj and spend a little time with him so I could have his Sangha. Because we were always with Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj, and so I thought, well, I should at least meet him and I should have a little bit of his Sangha. So, anyway, when he told me that, that came as a very big disappointment. But then he told me, he said, but I also have another important news to tell you about. And then he asked me, are you sitting down? And I said, yeah, I'm sitting down. And then he said, Srila Gurudev is coming to the West. I says, what? He is? Because those 2 years, 94, 95, we're always talking about, wouldn't it be wonderful if Srila Gurudev, Narayan Maharaj would come to the Western countries? You know? And so that was a discussion that was ongoing. But now, amongst a few of his Western devotees like Vrajanath Prabhu, Gopinath Prabhu, and a couple of others, they actually organized that Srila Narayan Maharaj is going to come on his first Western tour. And it's going to start in a couple of months. He's first going to England, then he's first going to Holland, then from there to England. And from there he's coming to America. I said, what, really? He's coming to America? He says, yeah. And he's going to first come to Houston, Texas, then he's going to come to Los Angeles. I says, really? I'm going on his tour. So that was the conversation that I had with him. At that time, after I finished and hung up the phone, I went back up to my room. And I had the book, Embankment of Separation, which had a beautiful photo of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj on the cover. And I put that on like a shelf in the room. And then I lit some incense and I offered Guru Puja to his picture. And then tears came to my eyes and I felt like, wow, what a personality. I considered him my Siksha Guru, even though I did not have the opportunity to associate with him personally. But I had so much association with him over all these years through his Vani and through his recorded Vani of his lectures and his kirtans and all of that, videos. And through those videos, I began to understand how powerful his preaching is. And I just heard today a lecture of Gurudev that was also given, that I downloaded and listened to from YouTube. And Gurudev was also saying about Gaur Govinda Maharaj that he never compromised anything. He never compromised, and he was very bold. And he would often point out hypocrisy and deceitfulness. He would point it out. He would reveal it to the devotees. He said he was like a lion. He would roar when he was giving his lectures. Gurudev compared him like that. And because Gaur Govinda Maharaj, you know, his disciples used to tell us about how in his lecture, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would be sitting on his Vyasasan, and they'd have the whole temple room in Bhubaneswar full of followers and disciples, especially the Westerners, right? And there was a particular place just to the right of where his Vyasasan was facing on the floor. And the Gaur Govinda Maharaj disciples, they called that the hot seat. Because if anybody sat there, inevitably, Gaur Govinda Maharaj would directly talk to them in the class by name, and he would expose their bogus behavior and hypocrisy and all of that. I can remember there's some humorous stories where the devotees were witnessing this, and there was one disciple who the devotees told to Gaur Govinda Maharaj, you know, this devotee, he's really deviating, you know, and he's watching pornography. And so then Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he began to call him by name. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj, you know, he had a stick also. He had a stick. Gurudev compared that stick to the whip of Miniketana Ramdas, that he would whip them with a whip, and then they would get some Krishna praying. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj had a stick, and I you know, there was like Gokul, this Australian devotee told me how Gaur Govinda Maharaj would hit them with the stick. Of course, he wouldn't wound them, but he would reprimand them. So this devotee who was sitting in front of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he just like was calling him by his name and say, yes, yes, and you like this? You are watching this? Huh? You are watching this? Huh? 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 You know? And he's turning red. You know? But Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he would purify them. That's why the devotees would fight with each other. Who gets the honor to sit there? Because inevitably, if they would sit there, Gaur Govinda Maharaj would turn up the heat underneath them, called the hot seat. And after that, they came out of that room feeling very purified. So in this way, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, I was also with Gurudev in Germany, forget the year, where Gaur Govinda Maharaj's disappearance day. Today is his appearance day. That was his disappearance day. And there was a few Gaur Govinda Maharaj disciples in the audience, and Srila Gurudev talked to the Gaur Govinda Maharaj disciples. He said, oh, you know, I know that your Guru Maharaj had one stick. And they said, oh yes, yes, yes. He also used it on us. So that's when Srila Gurudev was comparing him to Miniketana Ramdas, but who's the other person also? I'm forgetting the name of the associate of Mahaprabhu. Yes. So in this way, on this auspicious occasion of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj's appearance in this world, we have tried to hear some of his glories. There's more here, but we've run out of time. There's a whole section in this book that talks about his Siddhanta and how he preached all over the world, and how his Tattva Vichar, he liked to express what is the proper absolute consideration, Tattva Vichar, of all the philosophical points. And then in this book, they summarized all the different tattvas, Krishna Tattva, Jiva Tattva, Bhagavat Tattva, like that. How Gaur Govinda Maharaj presented this. Guru Tattva. So, but anyway, now we've come to the end, and I'm offering my humble obeisances at His divine lotus feet and praying to Him that He can shine His mercy upon all of us, and a few dust particles of mercy from His divine lotus feet can come on our heads so that we can one day in any future life become an actual pure Vaishnava like Him. Gaur Premanandi. Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Go, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Go. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande. Om Vrindai Tulsidebai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sachavachai Namo Nama Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Be'eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees. Vsya slava savrafyam sya priyadanim. So our next class today is the Wednesday